Okay, so we'll get started then. So on behalf of Heather Whitley and Rich London and I, we'd like to welcome you to the symposium in honor of Jon Castor and his many achievements. And so before we, well, I know that we'll have a great time today. We've got a fantastic agenda for you. We have a number of invited speakers that are going to give some very exciting talks, so we're all really looking forward to that. But before we begin, I have sort of some requisite announcements to make. So I wanted to point out that in the event of an emergency, there's emergency exits here at the ground floor, so we could come down here and all muster outside if we had to. If you're closest to the exit in the back, there's also an exit there. So just go around to the right, and that would take you out of the building. I also wanted to point out that this is, as you know, an unclassified meeting, so I just wanted to remind everyone of that. If you have any classified thoughts, keep them to yourself. Can't stop you from thinking, I guess, but I also wanted to point out, too, especially for our visitors, that while we'll have some photography going on here using official lab equipment, nobody's permitted to take photos with their personal equipment. So you can have your cell phone, although we would ask you please silence it. But don't use your cell phone to please take any photos, because that's not allowed and we don't want to get in trouble. And let's see. So our session chairs for today are Rich London, Todd Woods, Liam Stanton, and Joe Nilsson, all really exceptional folks that have worked with Jon throughout his career. And they're going to introduce the speakers and manage the time for the given talks. And so we do have a fairly compressed schedule today, so we're going to work to keep everything on time. For the speakers, we asked that we'd like to leave 5 minutes for questions at the end. And so the session chair is going to warn you as that time approaches with a final 2-minute kind of warning before question time. So please look to their cues as you give your talks. So today is also being filmed. So we will have kind of a record of all the talks and discussion today and questions. And so for that reason, we also ask that the speakers, if you have a DOE badge or a lab badge, that you just take it off before you come up here to give your talk. So we thank you in advance for doing that. And so we'll have 3 talks this morning prior to the morning break. Just before the morning break begins, we'd like to take a group photo of everyone here. So I promise it'll be very quick and organized. And so at that time, we'll ask everybody to just come up front here on the stage, and we'll take a quick photo, and then we can all enjoy the snacks and coffee. So we'll have 2 breaks today, the morning break and in the afternoon, with refreshments, at both of those. We'll break for lunch at 12 noon, at which point everybody's on their own for lunch. Okay, so, and then we'll all reconvene at 1:30 to start with Dick McRae's talk on Supernova 1987A. Okay, so now that the administrative stuff's sort of out of the way, I just wanted to say a few words briefly about Jon. So I actually haven't been at the laboratory all that long. I've been here about 7 years. And when I came here, shortly before coming here as a postdoc, I was in the chemistry department at USF. And, I said, well, I've accepted a postdoc position at the lab in high energy density physics. I should probably learn something about rad hydro, right? Knew nothing about this. And I asked around, what sources should I look at, what texts? And what everybody kept coming back to me was, yeah, you need to look at Jon Castor's book on radiation hydrodynamics. And so that summer, while I was waiting for the laboratory to sort of have an official start date, in Florida, I rented a beach house, sat there for about a month just reading various books, and I read Jon's book, and for many of you who've read it, it's a super clear, really interpretation of a fairly complex subject. And I said, at that time, I said, I really need to meet this guy, and furthermore, the fact that somebody at this place, Lawrence Livermore Lab, which I didn't really know very much about, other than in very general terms, the fact that somebody could really write this textbook and have this intellectual insight into this really made me want to come to the lab, because I said this must be a place where people can really dig into a lot of this fundamental science. Then once I came to the lab, sort of waiting for my clearance, there were a number of us in the so-called cooler building, and we had a seminar series to try to educate us on things people in the division were doing. And during one of those series, Jon came out and gave a seminar, 2-day seminar actually, on radiation hydrodynamics, which I think, again, we were all of us were very impressed just at both the level of knowledge as well as the ease of which that information was conveyed to us in very simple terms. I think we also noted that he didn't seem to look down at his notes very much, really. I mean, it was really, just coming from Jon's knowledge. So then, fast forwarding a few years, I was, very briefly Jon's group leader, and then I came to learn that in addition to being really a great scientist, as we all know, Jon also has this unique nature that makes him really just a wonderful person, and someone that, I think we've all known really people of great intellectual stature, but very few of them, I think, can be as unassuming in their interaction with people. And so I think very often Jon knows the answer, but he wants to sort of let you discover that on your own, and he has a really fantastic way of doing that I think all of us have appreciated. And I think it's a testament to his great ability to mentor many of the young folks at the lab as evidence of that. So, just very briefly, Jon is a native Californian, born in Fresno. He got his bachelor's of science in math and physics from Fresno State College in 1961, and his PhD in 1967 from Caltech in astronomy. Many people, I think everyone knows that Jon has had a long career of over 30 years here at the laboratory, but it's also even more impressive that he's had actually 2 careers. So prior to coming to the laboratory, he was a professor at the University of Colorado for more than 12 years. He joined as an assistant professor in 1969 and became associate professor in 1972. And during that period of time, of which he wrote a really landmark paper in astrophysics on stellar wind in 1975, that paper of which has well over 1,000 citations alone. He became full professor there in 1978, and we were fortunate enough to steal Jon away from the University of Colorado in 1981. He brought with him a number of folks, including also our own, Richard Klein and Rich London. Rich was one of Jon's students at the University of Colorado. And in addition to his work in astrophysics, he's made tremendous breakthroughs in the area of stockpile stewardship. He's received the Defense Programs Award numerous times for his work on the W-87 in 1998, as well as in 2006 he won the Defense Programs Award of Excellence, and in 2009 for his work on NIF radiation transport experiments. He became a fellow of the American Physical Society in 2003, and in 2012 he became one of Livermore's distinguished members of the technical staff. And as you know, this is a very prestigious honor. We have very few number of staff that have reached the level of DMTS. So that's really recognition of Jon's achievements both inside and outside the weapons program. So, so I think before we get started, I just thought it'd be maybe appropriate if we all sort of give a round of applause to Jon and his many accomplishments. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I'd like to kick this off by bringing up our first session chair, Rich London.